Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very honored to be part of this year's SPARC Africa Open Access Symposium. I apologize for not being there with you, but thank you very much for this opportunity. Today, I would like to share our perspective on open access and our approach from the Latin American perspective and from Rodalic and Amelika in particular. And I would like to begin by remind us that the debate on open access is a debate about the future of academia. So we have to think very carefully how should the future of academic publishing and academia look like. So, and before I begin, I would like to highlight that we shouldn't confuse the map with the territory. And let's say why. If you see the first map on the left, and a scientific collaboration analysis based on Scopus, you can see the North very active a passive participation from the global South into this stream of collaborations around the world. And if you based this map of collaboration on the Redalic database, you can see a very different map. So in this map, in the green one, you can see the north very active, but as well the south, different interactions, global south, south to north, south-south, north to north. So it's very important that to highlight that what we have been told that the mainstream is for our regional perspective, it is not. For us in the global south, let's say, particularly in Latin America, our mainstream is in fact the papers published in our journals that are wrongly named local journals because they are not local journals. They are published in Latin America and they are not visible through the Scopus database or the Web of Science database, but they are not specifically local. They are called local because we are not in the mainstream databases, but the mainstream databases are two databases that are from the north. So this is very important to highlight before we can talk about what we are doing in Latin America. So, and as well, we have to think that 17 years after the Budapest Declaration, we should acknowledge that the goal has not been achieved and the ways to attain the goal have been ignored. We have seen a more consolidated commercial publishing, and this is not the bad news, in fact, but the bad news are that we are seeing more restrictions. We are seeing restrictions on where, when, on how to deposit, restrictions on data mining, an increasing control of the knowledge production circuit. So we have seen this evolution from these corporations, from editorial services to publishers to analytic corporations. So this is very worrying for developing countries, especially. And as well, to remind that the prevailing scholarly communication system has failed in terms of making science a global, participatory, and equitable conversation. So, what do we really want that? The future of scholarly communication continues to be exclusive and non-equitable and prevents researchers to participate in it. So let's think about that. Latin America has created and maintains a non-commercial structure where scientific publishing belongs to academic institutions and not to large publishers. That is very important to say. Every institution supports journals that are driven by their own faculty members, and then the content is made available to everyone in open access. So that means that everyone's investment benefit everyone else in the circuit. So as well, we don't have, of course, subscriptions. neither a fee for authors. So it is a regional tradition free of APC and free of subscriptions and with immediate open access inherently. This open access environment in Latin America, it is supported mainly by the universities and research institutions that are publishing journals with their own resources. A lot of public funded scientific communication teams are inside these institutions. And then above these journals, we have different platforms and infrastructures that have been providing services and added value capabilities. For example, in terms of visibility, edition, quality assurance metrics. And here we can find Redalic, Cielo, La Referencia, Claxo, Latindex, among many other platforms here. That we mainly have been working with key factors: cooperation, networking, crowdsourcing, open source software, in-house software, international collaboration, etc. So we all together are working in an approach to science as commons, where we can identify at least these six components. That is academy owned. And by academy owned, I mean scholarly led. The owner is an academic institution. Immediate open access, not for profit, no APC. Cooperative-based sustainability, and technologically leveraged. And let's talk about these main components. The first three: academia owned and immediate open access, and not for profit. So who is sustaining the non-profit publishing in Latin America? Well, mainly universities. More than 50% of the institutions that are publishing journals are universities. And then academic associations, government organizations, and the health sector, hospitals and research centers in health. So the majority of them, 96%, are non-profit organizations. So a lot of public investment is in the circuit, and this is very important to highlight. However, academic owned publishing seems not to exist in the mainstream databases, as I said before. If we have a look to Web of Science or Scopus, we're going to see a very low participation of academia-owned journals in these databases, and this is why I was saying that Web of Science and Scopus are not part of our mainstream. Another component of this model has been technology, and this is very important to highlight as well, because we really believe that new technologies have the potential to redraw the landscape, and those bring new possibilities for other models to be competitive and even disruptive. So we have to think about if we are prepared for it. Because if we analyze at which stage of the web are scholarly journals running, we are going to have a very disappointing response, because the majority of them are just in the first stages of the web from 20 years ago, and they are not taking advantage of the most advanced technologies that can benefit or that can provide benefits in terms of efficiency of editorial processes, in terms of readability, user experience, interaction with the content, ubiquity, semantic web, and other technologies that are not being used by the publishing sector. So we have seen a very ineffective transition to the digital age by scientific journals. In fact, we have seen that the majority of them, for example, only publish their contents in PDF formats. So even the HTML, EPUB, and XML are hardly used by journals. So they are really leaving behind a lot of potential that technologies can bring in terms of organic visibility, organic impact, information discoverability, and many other capabilities that can be achieved by using technologies. So, and now talking about particularly what is Redalic doing in Latin America. I would like to say that Redalic is an infrastructure that supports academy-owned non-profit scholarly publishing by providing technology and sharing knowledge that contributes to the sustainability of non-commercial open access. If we see the Redalic approach, we have to, it's an open access platform for journal visibility, quality improvement, production tools, and when a journal wants to be indexed and wants to have these benefits from Redalic, the journal has to be submitted into a quality certification process. It has to fulfill a rigorous criteria in order to be indexed in Redalic. And then once it's indexed in Redalic, the journal can have access to different journal production tools to generate the XML and to get different enriched file formats. It has also access to different visibility services, interoperability and discoverability services, metrics, usage tracking, author collaborations tracking, and a lot of services that are like different layers or tiers of services that the journal can achieve by being part of Redalic. Redalic is a non-profit open access platform that provides this. And Redalic has been investing for more than 15 years in many in-house developed software, particularly the software that helps journals in journal production. And I'm talking about this Marcalic tool. That is a tool that significantly reduces production costs, generates XML, which is used to as well to it is used to generate automatically different file formats: the PDF, HTML, EPUB, intelligent paper readers. So the editor has only is only in charge of doing this markup, and then with one click generates all these PDF, HTML, EPUB file formats, and then take all these results or file products into the OJS platform, so they can have it in their own websites as well as in Redalic, available in Redalic. And in this sense, we argue that we have been working very hard in making the article, the traditional article processing or journal production process more efficient. We have savings of almost 90% in cost and in time. So because of that, because we are taking advantage of all the benefits that the XML can bring into the editorial process inside a journal, and we take it as an input to generate automatically the rest of the file formats for the journal, even the print on demand format that can be used to for print purposes for the journals that are doing so. And also, this is very interesting, and please look at it, because Marcalic enable content to be processed as and to be part of open data. And I'm talking particularly about mathematical formulas, equations, mathematical expressions in general, as well as tables and data inside the table. So with Marcalic, we can visually, as you can see in this video, drag and drop different data elements into the platform, and it can be tagged automatically. Use MathML and other XML-based languages. So with a little effort, you can have all these elements at a very at a small granularity, so you can be part of this open data initiative, because you can have all this data in a processable format, so a user can download this data and process in different like MATLAB or Excel or different processors, so they can be, or they enable the content to be replicable and to be that is a very special condition in science. And these are the different file formats that you can get automatically through Markalik, and I challenge you to compare these formats with the ones that are sold by Elsevier as the article of the future, or some other products that Elsevier is selling as a very with a very expensive product. Well, a journal can have a similar development here without paying anything. So this is our numbers: more than 1,200 index journals from 22 countries, from more than 600 publisher institutions, more than 500,000 full-text articles available directly in Redalic. We receive more than 10 million downloads per month. We provide service to more than 50,000 daily users in Redalic. And we have all this content from more than 1 million authors around the world, because as we index currently only Latin American journals, and recently we have expanded our scope because we identified a very important demand from other regions like India. So we expanded and we opened these tools to other regions that are as well as us in the need for infrastructure and in the need to be sustainable. So we open our platform to that with Amelik, and I'm going to talk about 1 minute at the end of this presentation. And the other component, the non-APC component of this model, is just to remind that the majority of the journals, according to DOAJ, are non-APC journals. This happens as well in Latin America. Latin America, it is has followed a very remarkable tradition without charging authors. This is a very novel concept that that was implemented or created by commercial publishers, but this is a concept not present in Latin America. However, it is a concept that is being imitated recently. So Brazil, Mexico, Venezuela, a couple of journals from Chile started to charge authors, and this is very damaging for our system, because it is a concept that is not that doesn't fit in a system that is nor that doesn't take science as a commodity. So it is a very disruptive concept to the system. That's why Redalic, in order to index a journal in our platform, we ask as a mandatory criterion for the journal to not charge authors. So we have, for example, more than one successful cases from that the APC to non-APC conversion. This is an example for the Journal of the Entomological Society of Argentina that eliminated its APC policy to apply for a user account in Markalik, as they realized it is better not to charge author fees, because author fees having been contributing to the sustainability of the journal, and they prefer avoid these APCs in order to get the free access to Markalik to continue producing the journal. But in fact, this model and these initiatives have been have now a lot of challenges. One of them, and this is maybe this has been discussed a lot recently, is that global flips are intended to, or at least we see that the most developed model in global solutions like Plan S is the APC the APC model, APC based model. So we are very concerned about it, as with Redalic and recently with Amelica. We are focused on building an infrastructure for academic institutions. So APC and market concepts are not involved in our model, and we think they are very threatening to the model in different sense. And I'm going to explain a little bit about that because I have just 2 minutes, but I'm going to do it quickly. One of them is if we think about the investment in open access publishing versus the expenditure in subscriptions, this is, for example, the case of Mexico. If we see Mexico that is, it's investing around $6 million US dollars annually in open access, in publishing about 200 journals, and in subsidizing different open access platforms. And if we compare this to the high, in this case, more than 65 million US dollars that are spent in subscriptions. So if a flip is intended to APC with an average APC of $1,000, with that amount of money that is spent in subscriptions, we will only have 60,000 articles to allow to publish with APC. So we argue that if every journal in the world follow this model, the open access, not for profit model, we will have thousands of open access journals free of APC and with 10% of the current investment. So in fact, if we think in this model, the non-profit academia model is less cheaper than the commercial based model. So why don't we why are we continue expecting that the commercial model is going to be sustainable if we have a lot of good examples that with much less money and with more efficient and with more control we can do the communication of science inside of academia with less money and with major control. So apart from this, we have to think to double think about the prevailing prestige construction that we have currently. It is critical to understand that the journal impact factor and other metrics based on journals has a number of well-documented deficiencies as a tool of research assessment. So, and the best ranked publications are usually for profit, and the research assessment system reward publishing in them. So we are in the middle of exclusive and deficient research assessment. So we have to think about property, sustainability, research assessment, and funding, because funding has the power to continue or to keeping this damaging model or to rethink and redraw this landscape into something more sustainable and more participatory and equitable. So our response was to organize together all different stakeholders around Latin America. We are now organized in a multi-institutional, community-driven initiative that is called Amelica, that is supported by UNESCO and led by Redalic and Claxo, and that seeks a cooperative, sustainable, protected, and non-commercial solution for open knowledge. We are pursuing to give the non-profit academia on scholarly publishing the opportunity, and we envision 3-dimensional strategies. The first one is the deconstruction of the prevailing prestige system. The second one is the use non-profit academia-owned journals to leverage journal substitutability. And in these two, well, in fact, in the three, funders are playing a very interesting and very important role here. And the third one, it's infrastructure, and we are more focused on that. So Amelica inherited all the technology and services provided by Redalic and added different more that are developed by the community. So we have different projects. One of the biggest is, well, the Amelica XML, and a very strong community of open journal system users and developers that have now more than 300 members participating in them. We have these criteria, basic criteria for journals to be part of Amelica: non-APC, XML JATS, peer review, and editorial quality, and to be aligned to the Declaration of San Francisco philosophy. We look for organic visibility, discoverability, and impact of science. We believe that every single piece of information could be part of a GN graph, where every source could be a provider of linked data, for example, to compose a structure, a complex structure that expresses the inherent knowledge, and to be linked to a wider and unrestricted knowledge cloud, what Leslie Chan wisely say, a network of networks. So it is possible to achieve a cooperative values-based infrastructure that benefits scholarly communications worldwide, yes, and we have been, well, our region, Latin America in particular, has been showing this example that it is feasible to run this kind of cooperative values-based infrastructure. We really believe that academia has the power to take back control, or keep it, of the whole knowledge generation life cycle. And we also believe that publishing in control of academia can create a counterweight to the exclusionary system that prevails today. So we imagine a web of connected autonomy, another Leslie Chan's concept that we are really, that we believe it is true, a cloud of scientific knowledge, sustainable and open, that promotes participatory and inclusive science communication. As we must seek as humanity a more equitable participation of all nations in the scientific discourse that comprehends local agendas, diversity, and that contributes in the reduction of gaps. Well, thank you very much.